Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation, and what's going on, sports fans? My name is TJ Jones, and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk right here on Bleacher Report. Come on in, have a seat, because we have a lot of things we need to discuss pertaining to the New Orleans Saints. As you know, we are a few weeks away from the NFL draft, and it's always an exciting time. It's always an exciting time because the NFL draft represents change. Doesn't matter if your team was one of the worst in the league. Doesn't matter if your team was middle of the pack or one of the best. But when we look at the NFL draft, we always look at it as that one person in that first round or the second round or some of those later rounds can change the fortunes of your football team. And it is an exciting time. And we're hoping that is the case for the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints did not make the playoffs, third straight year. The Saints did not make the playoffs. Very, very frustrating as a Saints fan to watch my favorite football team wet the bed for the last 3 seasons, 2 seasons in particular under head coach Dennis Allen, a guy who I feel is not the right person for the job. I know we just started the show, but I think that needs to be said. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you already seen some of the comments that were made about Dennis Allen. A lot of individuals that are columnists, NFL players, draftees, they are not very high on Dennis Allen. As a matter of fact, there was a video of LSU Tiger wide receiver and quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels, wide receiver Brian Thomas. They were actually on a live, and when the New Orleans Saints came up, they both started to laugh, and that's not a good thing. Now, some people say that it was because they don't feel like the Saints would be able to get Brian Thomas or Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, that could be the case. Jaden Daniels is probably going to be a top 5 pick, but Brian Thomas could fall to the New Orleans Saints. And the fact that those guys were laughing when they mentioned the New Orleans Saints, some people who cape for the New Orleans Saints, which I don't understand why, which I think of it as an absolute joke at this point. If you're still trying to defend this organization who has done absolutely nothing for the last 2 seasons except be okay with mediocrity, if you're caping for them, then the only thing I just got to say to you is you're not very smart when it comes to football. This is about results. This is about trying to change the fortunes of the New Orleans Saints. And I don't care about people's feelings. I don't care about what you think. I don't care about if you think that I'm just some contrarian that tries to do podcasting. I can give not a damn. This team needs to change, and it starts with the NFL draft. Now, I heard some things from Dennis Allen at the luncheon where they sit down and they had the little breakfast, and he was drinking his coffee, and he talked to the media for about 30 minutes, basically deflecting and acting as if some of these issues with the New Orleans Saints don't exist. But they did bring up the team actually going after a pass catcher. And I'm just going to say this. If the Saints are thinking about getting a pass catcher in the first round, then everybody within this organization needs to get changed. Like, seriously, from the top up, because it is pretty obvious that the Saints need help on the offensive line. And you want to make sure that you get the best offensive lineman possible. That is where I'm going with it. If you're expecting for me to come out here and give you some flashy pick like Brock Bowers or Brian Thomas, wrong show, okay? I'm not going to blow smoke up anybody's ass on this episode, right? The Saints need offensive line help. That is what they need. That's what they need to be focused on. This is what's going to help the New Orleans Saints be able to reach their full offensive potential. It's going to start with the offensive line. So let's stop wasting time. Let's stop fantasy booking here. Let's focus on the task at hand. Now, the topic is Saints NFL draft trades, because as you know that the Saints are picking it at number 14. Now, even though the Saints can get a really good player at 14 on the offensive line, I say it again, you want to make sure that you're getting the best offensive lineman that you possibly can. And you also want to make sure that you're getting an offensive lineman that fit the offensive scheme that you're trying to run under new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. So let's go ahead and put all that out there first. So who fits that mold? Who fits the mold of that new offense Kubiak is bringing to the New Orleans Saints? We know that the New Orleans Saints, by getting Kubiak, they want to put emphasis on the running game, because you're not going to get a Clint Kubiak type offensive coordinator who is a disciple of Kyle Shanahan. You're not going to get a guy like that if you're not trying to put emphasis on the run, if you're not trying to play smash mouth offensive football. Now, there is some style and finesse in that offense, but it all gets set up by the run. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the players that can be available at number 14. And we're going to take a look at what the Saints could possibly do in order for them to move up to try to get the best players possible. Now, this is ESPN. I'm actually going to be reading this from. Let me see if I can go ahead and share it with you all. And thank you for being here. 112 people watching this right now. Really, thank you for your time. It's been a while since I actually did a podcast, man. I kind of stepped away, took a little break from it because, look, nothing's really going on when it comes to NFL. Like you got little news here, little news there, and y'all know how I roll. And if you don't, if you just probably just rolled up on this black dude talking about the Saints, I am one of those people. I'm not going to blow smoke up anybody's behind. I'm not going to try to create content when there's nothing there. Not going to do it. All right. So I just want to make that very clear. But thank y'all for being here. But let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. This is on ESPN. I got it up on the screen right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's the best possible here. Now, we can take a look at some of these players. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with some of these names. I'm looking at the offensive line. Joe Alt is the number 1 rated offensive lineman in this draft out of Notre Dame. Big guy, 6'6", 6'7", really good feet, really good at run blocking, really good at pass protecting. This is the guy that is going to go first on the board. So that's going to be a little bit later in the show. Then you got Troy Fatanu from Washington. You got J.C. Latham. You got Olu Fashanu, Talalis Fuaga. You got Tyler Guyton. You got Jordan Morgan, and the list goes on and on here. But we're going to take a look at maybe 4 or 5 of these offensive linemen here. Now, looking at the draft board, looking at the players that are going to be taken off of the board, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these rounds. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the teams. I think we're pretty sure 100% that the Chicago Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams with the first overall pick. Washington is going to go with a quarterback more than likely, Drake May or Jaden Daniels. The same thing with the New England Patriots. The Arizona Cardinals more than likely are going to get a wide receiver, so you're probably going to see Marvin Harrison go off the board. You're probably going to see another receiver go at number 5, so that's probably going to be like Brian Thomas going to the Chargers. The Giants might draft a quarterback. Who knows? The Tennessee Titans, they need help at the wide receiver position. They can go in different directions there as well. The Atlanta Falcons probably looking at a pass rush. Then you got the Bears picking again at number 9. The Jets, they got a few really good offensive linemen. They got some really good wide receivers. Then you have the Minnesota Vikings, the Denver Broncos, the Vegas Raiders, and then the New Orleans Saints. So if you're looking at offensive line help, you're probably going to take a look at maybe you can look at the Tennessee Titans. You can take a look at maybe the Arizona Cardinals. But other than that, you got to wonder to yourself, are there going to be a lot of skilled players being taken off of the board? Are these guys going to be able to, help themselves when you got an embarrassment of riches of really, really talented offensive players with wide receivers and quarterbacks that teams actually need? So when you look at these top 10 to 14, you can say that the Saints are going to come away with a really good offensive lineman. So at 14, I don't see it out of the realm of possibility that the New Orleans Saints can't go after Olu Fashanu. I really don't. Olu Fashanu, to me, is a very, very gifted offensive lineman. 6'6", 312 pounds, coming out of Penn State. He's everything that you need. He has the athleticism. He has the ability to be able to help you in the run blocking game. He has the ability to help you in the pass blocking game. And he is somebody to feel like can be your offensive lineman for the next 5 to 10 years. And that is what the New Orleans Saints need. Ever since Teron Armstead signed with the Miami Dolphins, it has been plug and play at the left tackle position. And I just think that playing with fire when you are just trading out left tackles, it is time for the New Orleans Saints to solidify the left tackle position. You tried to do it with Trevor Penning. It does not seem to be working out. So to save this man's career, you might want to shift him on the inside. I don't see the New Orleans Saints going out here getting another guard. I don't see them call up Andres Pete. So it seems to me that the New Orleans Saints are going to try to put Trevor Penning on the inside and try him as a guard. So what you need to do is get a guy like Olu Fashanu out of Penn State, who more than likely will be there. Then you got to take a look at possible trades, right? I said this before, and I'm going to say it again, ladies and gentlemen. The Saints need help on the offensive line. You should not be looking at anything else other than the offensive line. Matter of fact, if you are thinking that the Saints need to do anything else other than offensive line, stop talking about football. Stop tweeting about football. Stop wasting everybody's time. Stop trolling, because I'm going to assume that's what you're doing, because there's not a person that loves football and that is in their right mind that honestly believes that the Saints need anything other than offensive line. So let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at the scenario, right? I went and I took a look at the fact that the New Orleans Saints could easily get a really good offensive lineman based on the other team's needs in this draft. So who can the Saints possibly make a trade with? Who can they trade with? You look at the Chicago Bears. I mentioned they got the first overall pick from the Carolina Panthers, which when you look at the Carolina Panthers, you got to believe deep down in their heart and their soul, like they made the biggest mistake in the history of football, right? I mean, honestly, like you went out here, you moved heaven and earth to try to get Bryce Young. Bryce Young did not pan out in his rookie year. As a matter of fact, the guy who was drafted after him looks much better than your quarterback does in his first year. But only time will tell for Bryce Young. So you could have easily stunk it up, and got a generational talent like Caleb Williams. But I digress. But the Chicago Bears sitting very pretty, more than likely going to get Caleb Williams. As a matter of fact, I think we can go ahead and just say this. So many people have been telling me that they already have been talking with Caleb Williams, gotten him meeting the coaching staff, gotten him meeting the players, gotten him meeting the people within the Chicago Bears organization. So I think it's pretty fair to say that, you know, they're going to get Caleb Williams. I don't think Washington, with new coach Dan Quinn, is going to move out of the second spot. You're trying to solidify yourself. You're trying to make a name for yourself. You were the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. You flaked out, got another opportunity. So you want to get a quarterback of your choosing. So I don't think they're going to move. New England, same thing. They got a new head coach. So he wants to solidify himself. They're not going to move. Arizona is not going to move. You got Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. I don't think they're going to move. Brian Daboll is not going to want to move. So it leads me to the Tennessee Titans, right? The Tennessee Titans are a team trying to figure it out. They moved on from Derrick Henry. They moved on from Ryan Tannehill. They are trying to establish themselves, brand new head coach there. So I don't see them trying to move in it either. I can see them staying in that position. I don't see the Atlanta Falcons trying to help out the New Orleans Saints in any way, shape, or form. So I don't see that happening. So you look at the number 9 pick. I mentioned the Chicago Bears got their quarterback of the future. They did some really good things, adding some pieces in the offseason to try to make things more comfortable for Caleb Williams when he comes into the league. So they're sitting at the number 9 spot. I can see them possibly making a trade with a team to probably drop out of the top 10 since you already got your franchise quarterback. So they may be more open to moving to number 14. So if they move to number 14, that will put the Saints in a very, very good position at the number 9 spot. And you have a possibility of getting Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. So if you can get Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, that would be great too. But my question would be, if Joe Alt is not available, I don't feel like the sky is falling. I don't feel like you have to set yourself back trying to get offensive lineman like Joe Alt when Olu Fashanu is there, when Talalise Fiaga is there. When you look at some of these other guys out there, Fatanu, all these different offensive linemen. This is a deep draft for offensive linemen. So why would you want to move up to try to get a player like Joe Alt when Fashanu can just be as good, if not better, than Joe Alt? So that is how I feel about that. Why would you want to waste your time doing something like that? I have absolutely no idea. But just for the sake of argument and for this podcast in particular, why wouldn't you want to go out here and stay in that spot and possibly get Olu Fashanu? Don't understand that at all, right? So there you go. But let's just go ahead and make a little bit of fantasy booking here. Let's just fantasy book here, right? Let's just take a look. Now, why would the Saints want to trade up to get into the top 10? This is the reason why I feel like the Saints, if they want to get into the top 10, why would they do it? The only reason I would be on board for the New Orleans Saints to move up in the top 10, possibly calling up Chicago, making a trade with them, the only reason would be to draft a quarterback of the future, going after one of these guys like Jaden Daniels, going after Drake May, going after Michael Penix Jr. That is why I feel like that is the only reason. There it is. That is the only reason I feel the New Orleans Saints need to move up. You do not need to move into the top 10 if you're not going after a quarterback. Do not, I repeat, do not move up if you're not going after a quarterback. I feel like that is the only explanation that you can give to a Saint fan or onlooker, is the fact that you're looking at a franchise quarterback that can help you in the future. Other than that, you need to stay at number 14. You can get yourself a really good wide receiver in the second round. You can get yourself a really good linebacker in the second round or a pass rusher in the second round. You can get all these things in the second round. So don't waste your time. But you need an offensive lineman. You need that offensive lineman that is going to help you to be able to get to the next level. And it's going to really help you make this transition from an offense that you've been using for the last 16 years to a brand new offense led by offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak and your quarterback, Derek Carr. You're going to establish the run, so you might want to go after a guy, an offensive lineman that understands the assignment. That's a really good run blocking offensive lineman, which they have a lot of. So you are going to be a team, no matter if you're not the Saints. You're going to get a really good offensive lineman in this draft. It is that deep. So you can probably get a really good generational talented offensive lineman in the third round. That is how deep this draft really is. Now, if we're talking about making trades, right? Moving on, to the second round. This is where I feel like maybe you want to take a look at maybe, I don't know, making a trade with a team. But even at this, I mean, you have the 13th pick of the second round, which is pretty doggone good. I mean, that's a really good pick here. Now, you could probably look at some of these other teams. I'm going to go ahead and put that up on the screen so everybody can see that as well. You could go ahead and take a look at some of these teams. Okay, Carolina. I don't think they're going to try to make a trade with you. New England historically have been known for making trades, but Bill Belichick isn't there anymore. So you got Gerard Mayo. You know, I don't know if he's going to be on that same mind frame like Belichick has been. You look at the Arizona Cardinals, too many holes in their team for them to be able to make some trades. Washington, once again, Dan Quinn trying to establish himself. The Chargers. So when you look at this, maybe, just maybe, the Tennessee Titans will want to, move down a few spots for you. The Houston Texans, with some of the moves that they made, they have the 10th pick in the second round. So maybe they'll want to trade with you. Don't see it with the Atlanta Falcons, Vegas Raiders, Antonio Pierce trying to establish himself as a new coach. So I can see you possibly making a trade in the second round to move up. Now, why would you move up? Once again, you move up because you find somebody that you feel that you just cannot go without. Somebody that is going to hit the ground running, rather it's a wide receiver, rather it's a quarterback that you're like, oh, man, I can't believe this guy dropped into the second round. We got to go after this guy, right? That is the only way. So what wide receiver can be available in the second round? Who can be available in the second round for the New Orleans Saints? When we take a look at this, when we look at these wide receivers on the board, Marvin Harrison going to be gone. Malik Neighbors going to be gone. Odunze is going to be gone. Brian Thomas is going to be gone. Leggett out of South Carolina, more than likely, is going to be gone. You can probably get someone like Keon Coleman, who a lot of people are off of because of the 40 time where he ran a 4.6. It was too slow, not good enough for their liking. He has that big wide frame. He has that big catch radius. He is a really good wide receiver. I don't care what the 40 says. If somebody gets Keon Coleman, they're going to have themselves a special talent. If he goes to the right team that can be able to nourish that. You can take a look at Troy Franklin from Oregon, Breeden Rice out of USC. So you don't have to move heaven and earth in the second round. So to be able to get a really good wide receiver. Keon Coleman can be there for you. Franklin can be there for you. Rice can be there for you. So taking a look at that, they got a lot of talented players. There's a lot of talented guys on the field. So when I look at it, I'm like, why do we have to make any trades at all? But if you want to, once again, you can probably make that deal, make that phone call with the Houston Texans. Houston Texans probably feel like they're sitting pretty. I mean, they got a bunch of really talented guys that they already got. They got Stephon Diggs. They got Nico Collins. I mean, they got Tank Dell. I mean, you got some talented guys. Running backs, you got Joe Mixon. You got Pierce. What do you really need? I mean, you got your shutdown corner and Derek Stingley. So that can be a team that you can possibly make a trade with and be like, hey, you know what? I think that, maybe I can call the Houston Texans and be able to move up. But, I mean, moving up 3 spots, I mean, what are you really moving up for? Who do you think is going to take the guy that you want? I don't see the New Orleans Saints, unless Michael Penix is available, them trying to move up in the second round to get him. And, I think they're pretty content with the quarterback that they have with Derek Carr. Even though most Saints fans will tell you that they're not, that don't mean that the Saints aren't. But let me take a look at some of the things that you all have to say. And shouts out to everybody that's here right now. I really do appreciate it. Shouts out to everybody for being here. Let's see. Says this one says, I thought we should have hired Aaron Glenn, honestly. Hiring Aaron Glenn. Should the Saints have hired Aaron Glenn? Hell no. Like, why? Why would the Saints hire Aaron Glenn? What has Aaron Glenn done as the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions besides make the Detroit Lions defense look like the defense the Saints had in 2015? Like, they can't stop a nosebleed. I mean, as a head coach, nah. I mean, I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe, I don't see him being a head coach. I don't even see him being like a really good coordinator. He's not. I mean, everybody's talked about how good of a person he is and all that. But look, there's some great people out there that coach football but can't be head coaches. And when I look at Aaron Glenn, I'm not too sure about him as a head coach. I'm just being honest with you. I like him as a person. Everybody that says, talks about him, talks very highly of him. But, I mean, Detroit Lions defense stinks. And I haven't seen anything from Aaron Glenn that tells me that, the Saints should hire him. Like, to me, I feel like what you have is basically what Dennis Allen is. Dennis Allen is, Aaron Glenn, in my opinion. I think that, a guy who understands certain things, he can, persuade people to do certain things. But when it comes to, certain leadership things, I feel like head coaches, they need that. Like you need certain qualities to be a head coach. You can have certain qualities and be a coordinator and a really good one. But there are certain qualities that you need as a head coach that I feel like the Saints need from a head coach right now. Aaron Glenn is not the guy, in my opinion. Let's see. I think the Saints' top priority should be offensive tackle, preferably for Shanu. Only person worth trading up for is Joe Alt, but I don't want to give up future first or second. I don't think the Saints can afford to trade up or try to do anything. I think the Saints need to try to put together the best draft possible. With the picks that they already have. I mean, you have a lot of fifth round picks. You don't have a third or fourth round, but you have some really you got a number of picks that you can do something with. And if the scout is actually doing their job, you shouldn't have to move up, move down, move left, move right in order to fix this football team. You shouldn't be trying to set your team back because, in my opinion, the Saints, they can't afford to relinquish any draft picks for the near future, especially if you're around here telling everybody that Dennis Allen is the guy. And quite frankly, like Mickey Loomis strikes me as a person that doesn't want to admit that he's wrong, to a point where I feel that he wouldn't try to bring Dennis Allen back again if the Saints win 9 games again. He strikes me as a guy that tries to force his beliefs and his narrative on individuals. So if you're going to be doing this and you're going to torture Saints fans and make us have to buy into this loser named Dennis Allen, quite frankly, I don't think that you should be relinquishing draft picks. I think that you should try to just stock as many draft picks as you possibly can. And also, if Mickey Loomis wakes up one morning and finally has the huevos to give Saints fans what they want, which is firing Dennis Allen as the head coach, giving the Saints fans all over the world something to smile about, then you want to make sure that you set your team up for the next head coach that comes in to be able to fix this football team and not be looking at an uphill battle. He can just hit the ground running. So to me, I think you need to use what you got in order for you to try to fix this football team. But quite frankly, I don't feel like this team will ever be fixed until Dennis Allen is no longer the head coach. You can try to hide his imperfections. You can try to, masquerade, and try to cover up some of the things that he lacks. But it's only a matter of time before everybody sees. Well, it ain't a matter of seeing. Everybody knows. It's like you won't have a choice but to face reality. And the reality is that this guy is not a good head coach. But, hey, you can keep on trying to make this thing work all you want to. You'll probably win some games because of the people that are around him to try to make people like myself, oh, look what y'all don't know what y'all talking about, blah, blah, blah. But it's only a matter of time, right? It's only a matter of time before the world realized that Milli Vanilli was lip singing. It's only a matter of time before they realized that, things ain't always what they seem. So the way I look at it, you can keep on trying to prolong the inevitable, but it's a matter of time before it happens and everybody just realized that, we knew this all along. So you want to stockpile as many draft picks as you can for the next guy that's going to come in and possibly fix this team. Try to make it as appealing as possible, right? I mean, going in, if they would have fired Dennis Allen and they would have got another coach, I mean, you got a first round pick, a second round pick, and don't pick again to the 5th round. Like, it's not very appealing. And then on top of that, the Saints are trying to put together the best special teams in all of football, by going out here, getting, certain football players, getting Stanley Morgan from the Cincinnati Bengals and getting Khalid Hudson from the Washington Commanders. So the Saints are trying to make sure that they got the best special teams in all of football, but that ain't moving the needle for me. And I'm pretty sure it's not moving the needle for you either. Fashanu is way too small to be a tackle in the NFL. Come back when you're wrong. Okay. Make sure you come back when you're wrong. All right. Make sure that the apology is as strong as the disrespect, because there's not a person on the face of God's green earth that believes that Olu Fashanu is not going to work out in the National Football League. You got people that do this on a consistent basis. You got individuals that scout on a daily basis. They're saying that this guy is going to be a really good left tackle. So I don't know what you watch. I don't know if you're trolling right now. Maybe WrestleMania happened this past weekend, so maybe you're working on your heel turn here. But there's no way in hell that a person that is in their right mind, that understands football, and that's watched this dude on film, feels that this dude is not going to be a really good left tackle. Once again, when this guy gets drafted and whatever team he goes to, hopefully it's the Saints, and he ends up being good, make sure that the apology is louder than the disrespect that you just showed Olu Fashanu. I'm just saying. I mean, maybe you're working on your heel turn here, man. I don't know. I don't know what was going. Okay, all right. Okay. I got you with Fatanu. Okay, for now Fatanu, there's a lot of up and down. All right, but I was like Fashanu, like wait a minute now. Wait a minute now, Steve. Hey, man, I thought you were working on your heel turn. I thought you were working on your heel turn, man. So I apologize for that. Okay, but when it comes to the offensive line, when we think about Troy Fatanu out of Washington, a lot of up and down. He's going to have to go to a team, Stevie. He's going to have to go to a team that is run first. So if he goes to a team, I don't know, who likes to run the football? 49ers. Goes to the 49ers, should be okay. Go to the Eagles, he should be okay. He should be okay. A team that likes to run the football. He's going to struggle a little bit early when it comes to pass protection, but if he goes to a team that runs the football, he should be okay. But he's going to have to get better when it comes to pass protection. Now, I don't know who exactly saying that Fatanu is going to be, going to be like a generational talent. I ain't hear that, but I heard, he has the tools, he has the athleticism to be a really good offensive lineman in the National Football League. I'm more inclined to try to put him on the right side, and have him as a really good right tackle than actually just thrusting him into the left tackle position. I feel like you probably got something there if you put him on the right side. Left side, I feel like he'll probably struggle a little bit, because what I seen when I was watching the film was he was getting beat by some really athletic defenders, and when he does, he gets a little grabby. And that's going to be a guy that can be extremely frustrating very early on the offensive line. And if he struggles with confidence early, that could be the narrative throughout his entire career. So I would try to start him off on the right side and then maybe transition him to the left if I like what I see, going into year two. But that's the way I look at it. Let's see. Penix is a second-round pick, says D-Ham. Well, D-Ham, look, a lot of up and down with that. Had a really good pro day. Had some really good accuracy. Very, very talented guy. But there are a lot of people who feel like there's a mixed bag, D-Ham. There are some who feel that Michael Penix Jr. is better than some of the top-rated quarterbacks in this year's draft. They feel that outside of Caleb Williams, he is just as good as any of those other guys that are going to be drafted in the top 10. The Drake Mays, the Jaden Daniels, right? They feel like he's just as good, and I agree. But here's the thing. Here's the thing when it comes to Michael Penix Jr. When it comes to Michael Penix, he'll have a game where he just looks like all world. We seen the game, the semifinals, when they played against Texas. He was threading the needle. He was doing some amazing things. He was putting the ball between the defenders. He was, ear holding passes, right? Linebackers like turning around and the ball is just right there. You know what I'm saying? Like he was a marksman in that game. And then you look at the national championship game and the accuracy wasn't where it needed to be. So it's some up and down there. There's some mixed baggery there. So I don't know if he's going to hit the ground running as a first day starter. Now, maybe in year number 2, he'll probably be much better. But the question is, you got to think about his age. You got to think about the fact of his development from the college to the pros. Our teams are going to have that patience to know that maybe this guy is not going to be what we want him to be until he's like 27, 28 years old. So our team's going to give him the opportunity to develop as a quarterback and to be the quarterback that they need. He can be a second round pick, but I also wouldn't be shocked if he is a first round draft pick to a team who has a quarterback already and can use him as the heir apparent. Probably have a bridge quarterback. I can see the Minnesota Vikings maybe, going after him, maybe putting somebody in place to start a few games until Michael Penix is up and running. But he has to go somewhere where a team understands his needs and be able to use what he has already to be successful. So accompany him with a running game and a good defense. So there are a few teams out there that he can go after. The Saints would be a good landing spot for him because you know that he's not going to start. You got Derek Carr, and hopefully by the time it's time for him to start, the Saints will no longer have Dennis Allen to make this man career an absolute disaster. So there you go right there. But I can see him being in a second round, but I can also see him as a first round draft pick. This draft has only 2 can't miss quarterbacks in Caleb and Daniels. Everyone else is serviceable. Well, I feel like, when it comes to Drake May, I think he's talented. Jaden Daniels, I think that he's more playmaker. He's more playmaker right now. I feel like he still has to work on a few things. But I think that when it comes to these 2 guys, they got that star quality. Number 1, they're talented. And number 2, they can put some asses in seats. Like, let's not forget, this is a business that we're talking about here. And I said it at the top of this show. It's about trying to change the fortunes of your franchise. And we know what the NFL stands for. We know what the NFL draft, stands for. It stands for wings of change. And when you draft a guy like Jaden Daniels and you draft a guy like Caleb Williams, it makes your team feel more confident. It makes the fan base feel more confident that they have what it takes to go a little bit further than they did last year. So when you look at both of these guys, they got the star appeal. To me, they still going to struggle. I don't think Caleb Williams is just going to go out there and just dominate the NFL. He might. And this might sound like the worst take ever. But I am not really sold on Caleb Williams. Like, Caleb Williams, when I look at him, I'm going to just be honest with you. And like I said, this could be a bad take, but I don't care. I look at a guy who has been told his entire life he's better than everybody. And I get really concerned when I see individuals like that. They've been told their entire life that they've been better than everybody because more than likely they have been better than everybody. So when they face levels of adversity, how are they able to bounce back from it? And I gotta say this. When Caleb Williams faced adversity at USC, I didn't really see him bounce back. I really didn't. I seen him make some throws, but everybody know how talented his arm is. But I'm just wondering, what happens when you're no longer the toast of the town? What happens when you have a bad game or you start to reach a little bit of a rough patch? Are you going to rise to the occasion? Or are you going to let the noise get louder and throw you off your game? he strikes me as an individual that cares a lot what people think. And he also strikes me as a person that feels like, like he cannot do any wrong. And my decisions are the best decisions. I don't care what anybody says. The way that he's operating, some of the news that is coming out about him, I get genuinely concerned about people like that. It reminds me of Vince Young. Everybody, I'm pretty sure a lot of you know Vince Young, quarterback at Texas, went to that national championship game, put over 400 yards up on the field, basically single-handedly beat USC. Everybody was talking about how great he was. When he got to the NFL, had that monster rookie year. Then his second year, when it didn't look the way the first year did, he kind of flaked out because he's not used to people saying that he's not very good. He's not used to people saying that he's not a leader. He's not used to people not covering up for his imperfections. He's not used to it. So when I look at Caleb Williams, kind of strikes me as that type of person. So right now, everything is great. But what happens? What happens when everybody is no longer singing your praises and you're the quarterback of a franchise where you get all the praise when you win, but when you start losing, you're not getting any? So that is my question. And right now, he strikes me as a person that, to me, if things go awry, I don't think that he's going to step up and put his big boy pants on. He seems like a deflector to me, but we'll see. We'll see. How you feel about packaging some of those late round picks to move up into the third? I'm gonna say this. I said this before, Roll Tide, who that a little bit earlier. The way that the Saints are structured right now, I am very reluctant about trading for anything, because I don't think that this Dennis Allen thing will last much longer. And I just feel like if you're trying to go after a new coach, you want to make sure that your organization is as appealing as possible. You want to make sure that your team is on point. And I just think that by trading certain draft picks, and if a new coach comes in, we got a first, we got a second, we don't have a third, we don't have a fourth, but we got I just feel like it will be more appealing. It would be more appealing if you have like all 7 of your draft picks, or maybe you had a 1, 2, 2s or something like that, or or you have some, if you got at least your first, second, and third round picks. But for the sake of this question, I will indulge. Okay. Since you have 4 5th round picks, I don't think that, unless you wrap this up in a Lattimore or something, like a Lattimore and a 5th round pick or something like that, I don't feel that a team is going to want to give you a 3rd round pick for a 5. Like, that would be insane. Like, you would have to be an absolute, have to be absolutely insane to do that. Like, you have to be insane. Like, it would have to be a player that is you have to be like a generational talent. A shutdown corner like Lattimore is the only person I feel like will give you that leverage to move up to the 3rd round. So that's the way I feel about it. Is it possible that the Saints take the right tackle like Fuaga, J.C. Latham, in case Ram isn't expected to play? That's a good question. I don't think Ryan Ramczyk is going to play. I don't believe anything that comes out of the Saints organization's mouth anymore. I'm sorry. Everything that they tell us when it comes to injuries, they tell us one thing, and then they turn around and just do something else completely different. They go and they do something completely different, or something completely different happen. They did it with Jameis Winston. It's not as bad as it seemed. We ain't see him no more. Michael Thomas a couple of years ago. It's not as bad as it seemed. We ain't see him no more. Last year with Marshawn Lattimore. It was better than we thought. We ain't see him again. So I don't trust the New Orleans Saints when it comes to injuries. Everybody, we'll see. Ryan Ramczyk more than likely not play for the rest of the season. So they can pretend like this is going to happen, but I do not believe the Saints organization when it comes to injury prognosis and updates. And I know people get mad at me. Oh, the New Orleans Saints organization, they don't know what's going on. They just trust what the doctors say. That is one of the main reasons why you don't want to play this game. People got mad at Sean Payton because Sean Payton did not disclose injuries. But at the end of the day, you never had to have conversations about, oh, Sean Payton said this about a player and he's not available. So what the Saints are doing, they're only pissing off the fan base. They're only making the fan base angry by telling us stuff that ends up not being true. So I am going to believe that Ryan Ramczyk is not going to play. So with that, you got to take a look at getting these offensive linemen. Maybe trying to make a call for Collins, Lionel Collins. Right? He's still out there on the street. Maybe you want to give him a phone call. Maybe he can play your right tackle. And maybe you can draft a guy like Olu Fashanu or draft a guy like Joe O. But you have to be able to do something. Maybe you want to bring back Trey Turner. Maybe Trey Turner can fill that void. I mean, he had that pec injury. He had that pec injury last season, but he was supposed to be pretty good. He has a lot of starts. So maybe that's the direction you want to go in. But the reality is, I do not believe anything that the New Orleans Saints say to me when it comes to injuries, because they have been proven to not be true. I don't care what the doctors have said. If you go out there in front of the media and people hear you and they are hearing you say, oh, it's not as bad as it seemed, and it turns out that we don't see that player again, why would I trust you? I do not. I do not trust the Saints organization. I do not trust them when it comes to the injuries. Ryan Ramczyk's injury is very, very severe. It has been very, very severe for the last couple of years. And everybody is saying that he may be out for the season. More than likely, he will be out for the season. When Dennis Allen was saying we'll see, it's basically like he's trying to put everybody's mind at ease. But we know, and we have a large enough sample size to know that we can't trust what the Saints organization tells us about injuries. I have yet to see the New Orleans Saints tell me about a player of significance in their injury, and it's not as bad as it seems. Somebody please give me a name of a player that Dennis Allen has come to the podium, and he has been a significant player, a player that's supposed to help the Saints get to where they need to be. And he gives you that prognosis, or he says that, oh, that player is not, the injury ain't as bad, and they end up missing several weeks. I have yet to see, oh, it's not that bad, and that player is out there, 2 weeks later. So I don't trust it. So in this case, you might want to try to sign a veteran right tackle. I mean, you already got Udo, you already got him from the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe he'll be that guy that you put at the right tackle position. Once again, Lyle Collins is out there. You got Trey Turner that's out there. So maybe you need to fill that. But the number one priority, Who Dat Nation, sports fans watching this right now, is the left tackle position. Solidify that position, and we'll go from there. Is it possible Saints take a right tackle? Already read that. Says, I agree. We should draft a quarterback, but in the 5th round, like Michael Pratt from Tulane, he has shown that he can handle adversity. Well, I tell you what, D-Ham, I like Michael Pratt. I like him a lot. But I'll be lying to you if I didn't just believe that, I would be lying to you. The Saints need to go after him. And honestly, probably just be that he played at Tulane, and Tulane has a special play now on time. When they went to that on that Magic 88, when I defeated with Tom Martin as their coach, I go back that far. Right? Well, I probably favoritism right there. But I think if we're looking at somebody late round, 5th round, want to look at a project, want to look at a guy that could probably give you something in the right situation, I'm looking at Joe Milton out of Tennessee. I'm looking at Joe Milton. I'm looking at, maybe if a team is kind of reluctant to try to draft this guy because of the injury, Jordan Travis. I mean, how far will he fall due to that injury? Wasn't able to really participate in a lot of things. Sam Hartman, his leadership. Maybe the Saints will look at that, but I would probably look, if I'm looking at a guy who maybe give me a little bit of a wow factor, right? Because you already got a guy to me that's fundamentally sound. You already got that in Jake Haener. Like, you got a young, fundamentally sound quarterback in Jake Haener. To get a guy that in the right situation, right development, can end up being a beast at quarterback, I would go with Joe Milton. Joe Milton out of Tennessee. Now, he's a guy to me that can probably give you a little bit of something. Because I feel like when Michael Pratt to me is pretty much what you have in Jake Haener. So looking at that, I would probably have to take that into consideration. But to give you something that you haven't seen in a minute, something that can probably excite the Who Dat Nation, probably would be Joe Milton. All right. But I want to say thank you all for checking out Saints Talk. My name is TJ Jones. I am also the host of the State of the Saints podcast that you can check out on youtube.com. Search the State of the Saints podcast. You can check out previous episodes that are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. And you can also follow me on X at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?